They called him the Shadow, a man who appeared from nowhere and crushed everyone in his path. While others trained in glamorous gyms, Dorian Yates built his empire in a dark basement called the Temple. Each contest he emerged bigger, harder, and more terrifying than before, until the entire sport bowed to him. But behind the legend was a darker reality: torn muscles, dangerous drugs, and a legacy some say ruined bodybuilding forever. Was Dorian Yates the greatest champion of all time, or the man who broke the sport he once ruled? Dorian Yates wasn't born into the sun-soaked gyms of California, the Mecca of bodybuilding. He came from Birmingham, England, an industrial city far removed from the glamour of Venice Beach. In fact, he didn't even touch a weight until he was 21, an age when most future champions were already years deep into training. At first, Yates weighed only 160 pounds. By day, he hauled materials on construction sites. By night, he disappeared into a basement gym called the Temple. The place was dark and basic, yet Yates found his calling there.
What made him different?
Unlike other bodybuilders, Yates became his own teacher. He devoured anatomy books and training guides. Picture a construction worker studying muscle diagrams like a medical student. This hunger for knowledge would soon change everything. Success came gradually. Yates captured the British Championships in 1986 and 1988. But here's what nobody saw coming. These small victories were just the beginning of something extraordinary. Success came slowly at first. Then 1991 arrived, and everything exploded into chaos. Everything shifted when Yates stepped onto the Mr. Olympia stage for the first time. He finished second behind Lee Haney. The bodybuilding world stopped and stared. Who was this mysterious giant from England? The following year, Yates claimed his first Mr. Olympia crown. Then something magical occurred. He kept winning and winning. For 6 incredible years, he was untouchable. Fans nicknamed him the Shadow. Why? Because he seemed to materialize from nowhere each contest season. Other competitors would arrive feeling confident. Then Yates would appear on stage and game over. His victories weren't even close. Think about this pattern. Every single year, the same story played out. Top bodybuilders trained harder than ever. They prepared for months. They believed this would be their year. Then Yates walked out under the lights. The contest was finished before it started. But dominating stages was only half the story. Behind the scenes, he was rewriting every training rule.
Most athletes hammered away 6 days a week. They performed endless sets.
Yates flipped this approach upside down. His secret wasn't endless hours in the gym. It was the opposite. Yates trained just 4 days a week. Some muscles wouldn't be touched again for 10 days. To outsiders, it looked insane. To other bodybuilders, it looked lazy. But here's what they didn't understand. Every single set was an all-out war. Yates didn't stop when it hurt. He pushed past the point where most men would drop the bar. He forced extra reps. He battled through slow negatives. And more often than not, his training partner had to pull the weight off his chest before it crushed him.
Soon his gym sessions became legendary. Bodybuilders worldwide studied his training videos. They watched in amazement and fear. Nobody had ever witnessed such raw intensity. Yates turned each workout into a battle that he absolutely had to win. His victories were impressive, but his physique was revolutionary. He brought something never seen before. He stepped out, weighing almost 270 pounds, yet somehow he remained razor-sharp and defined. Nobody had ever seen this deadly combination before. His back became the stuff of legends. Picture a roadmap of muscles carved from granite. Other bodybuilders would stare at photos of his back for hours. They tried desperately to decode his secrets. The ripple effect was immediate. Competitors scrambled to match his incredible size. The sport entered uncharted territory. Suddenly, bigger became the new standard. Mass ruled everything. However, behind the success, Yates was paying a heavy price. Years of pushing past limits began to wear his body down. The first injuries were small, just strains and aches, but over time, they grew worse. Much worse. Eventually, his bicep tore completely. Not long after, his tricep did the same. These weren't minor setbacks or pulled muscles. They were full tears.
the kind that leave lasting damage. His style of training had built a champion, but it was also breaking him from the inside out. 3 weeks before the 1997 Mr. Olympia disaster struck, Yates was training in the temple when his tricep tore. His training partners went quiet. Most people would have quit. Not Yates. He decided to compete anyway, with a torn tricep. He planned to defend his title with only half a working arm. That 1997 contest became legendary for all the wrong reasons. Fans were split down the middle. Some called him a hero, others said he should have stayed home. The judges had to make a tough call. Here's the scary part. This wasn't bad luck. Yates's training was too extreme. His methods pushed muscles past their limits. The same intensity that built his physique was now destroying it. Every injury created new problems. He had to train around damaged muscles. He invented new exercises to work around the pain, but the damage kept piling up. His body was screaming warnings. The injuries were getting more frequent, more severe. The message was clear. Something had to change. Finally, the inevitable happened. The injuries forced him to think about retirement. At his peak, at the top of his game, the physical cost had become too high. But then came the real nightmare. 6 weeks before the 1997 Olympia, something terrifying happened. Yates started coughing up blood. Imagine his fear. This man had never backed down from anything. Now his own body was turning against him. The sight of blood changed everything. He rushed to the hospital. The test results were alarming. His kidney numbers were dangerously high. His liver values showed serious problems. Years of steroid use were catching up fast. The doctors spoke plainly. These numbers were life-threatening. His organs were in distress. Continue this path and face serious consequences, maybe fatal ones. Yates faced an impossible choice. Skip the Olympia and let down his fans, or risk his life for one more title. The pressure was crushing. He chose to compete anyway, but the warning signs were everywhere. His body was waving a white flag. After retirement, the full picture emerged. The extreme training had created lasting damage. His joints ached constantly. His organs needed years to recover. Some problems would never fully heal. The invincible champion had found his breaking point. Sometimes even the strongest warriors must know when to surrender. Yates learned this lesson the hardest way possible. His legacy includes both triumph and tragedy. Amazing victories came with a devastating physical cost. The man who seemed unbreakable had finally been broken by his own methods. Years later, something remarkable happened. Yates broke the unspoken rule of professional bodybuilding. He told the truth about drug use, the whole truth. Most retired champions stay quiet about steroids. They give vague answers or change the subject. Yates took a different path. He opened up completely about his chemical journey. The timeline he revealed was shocking. From 1985 to 1997, he used steroids consistently. That's 12 straight years of chemical enhancement. No breaks, no time off. His body never got a rest from the drugs. But here comes the bombshell. Yates admitted something that stunned the bodybuilding world. He had used higher amounts of drugs than anyone knew. The public lists of his cycles, they were incomplete. The real numbers were much scarier. During his Mr. Olympia reign, he added a dangerous new element. Insulin entered his program. This hormone was different from steroids. It was more powerful and more deadly if used incorrectly. The insulin changed everything about his physique. It helped pack on mass faster than ever before, but it came with terrible side effects. Yates soon discovered why this drug terrified even experienced users. His blood sugar levels became a daily battle. One mistake with insulin timing could mean coma or death. He lived on the edge of disaster every single day. Looking back, Yates calls insulin his biggest mistake. The drug gave him size, but stole his health. The trade-off wasn't worth it. The long-term damage became obvious after retirement. Yates's muscle quality began to fade. The rock-hard density that made him famous started disappearing. Even worse was his midsection. His once tight waist began to expand. The dreaded steroid belly appeared. Years of growth hormone and insulin had enlarged his internal organs. This distended stomach became his most visible reminder of drug abuse. No amount of training could fix it. The damage was permanent. Other side effects followed quickly. His natural hormone production shut down completely. His body forgot how to make testosterone on its own. Depression hit hard during the withdrawal period. Sleep problems plagued him for years. His heart worked harder than normal. Simple activities left him exhausted. The chemical bill was coming due with interest. Yates experienced mood swings that confused him. Anger would flash without warning, then crushing sadness would follow. His brain chemistry needed years to stabilize. Today, Yates serves as a living warning to young bodybuilders. He speaks honestly about the costs of extreme drug use. His message is simple but powerful. The drugs work. They build incredible muscle, but they demand a price that many cannot afford. Some changes to your body will never reverse. His reign ended, but the arguments were just starting. Had he elevated the sport or ruined it? Many fans believe Yates destroyed the sport they loved. These critics argue he changed bodybuilding forever, and not for the better. Before Yates arrived, bodybuilding celebrated balance. The ideal male form mattered most. Think of champions like Frank Zane and Bob Paris. They looked like Greek statues come to life. Proportions were perfect. Lines flowed beautifully. Then Yates exploded onto the scene. Everything changed overnight. Size became king. Mass ruled the stage. The old ideals were thrown out the window. Critics were furious. They watched their sport transform into something unrecognizable. Where once stood athletes, now stood what some called freaks. The human body was pushed beyond natural limits. Longtime fans felt betrayed. They remembered when bodybuilders looked achievable. Regular people could aspire to build similar physiques. Now the gap seemed impossible to bridge. The drug use escalated dramatically. Yates' success sent a clear message to competitors: go bigger or go home. This mentality spread like wildfire through gyms worldwide. Young bodybuilders saw the writing on the wall. To compete at the top level, they needed massive amounts of chemicals. The doses grew larger each year. The risks increased with them.
There was no social media. I was purposely covered up all year round. Even the guys that trained with me, they never saw my physique because I was always covered up in the gym. I was just there to do my job, not there to look at myself in a mirror or take pictures or...
Training methods became more extreme. Yates' high-intensity approach inspired countless imitators, but many lacked his genetics or knowledge. Injuries multiplied across the sport. The aesthetic beauty of bodybuilding seemed lost forever. Judges now favored mass over artistry. Conditioning mattered more than classic lines. The sport's soul felt different. Old-school fans turned away in disgust. They refused to watch contests that featured distended bellies and oversized physiques. Attendance at some shows dropped noticeably. But here's the other side of the story. Yates pushed human potential to new heights. He showed what the human body could achieve with dedication and science. His physique inspired millions to start training. Today, Yates watches modern bodybuilding with growing concern. More people work out than ever before, which sounds positive, but the sport itself has taken a dangerous turn. Current bodybuilders push their bodies harder than Yates ever did. They use stronger drugs, train year-round without breaks, and face constant social media pressure. Yates calls them ticking time bombs waiting to explode. The financial rewards are bigger now. Athletes feel pressure to stay competition-ready all the time for photo shoots and sponsorship deals. This creates an unsustainable cycle that worries the former champion. Yates speaks out because he cares. He openly discusses using testosterone replacement therapy in retirement. He talks about how proper hormone management improved his mood and quality of life. These conversations help younger athletes make better choices. Looking back, Yates calls his career-ending injury a blessing in disguise. This statement shows how much his thinking has changed. What seemed like a disaster actually saved him from years of destructive habits. At 57, Yates still looks impressive, but his physique focuses on health, not extreme size. He runs a successful nutrition company. He enjoys family life. Most importantly, he has found peace. The journey from obsessed competitor to wise mentor took decades. Yates discovered that true strength comes from balance. Physical, mental, and spiritual health work together. His story offers hope to anyone feeling trapped by their own success. Change is possible, even after living one way for years. Sometimes, the worst things that happen to us become the best things that could have happened. Yates proves that champions can reinvent themselves and find meaning beyond their original achievements. Dorian Yates's journey proves greatness comes with both glory and sacrifice. His story is a lesson in power, resilience, and transformation. What do you take from his legacy, triumph, or warning? Share your thoughts, and don't forget to follow for more untold stories of bodybuilding legends.